Hello you guys, welcome back. I have another fall video for you all this week. I shared fall thrifting, some things that I think you should look out for while thrifting, how I decorated my home with those items. That was last week. And then today we're gonna do some of the fall thrift flips. So I hope to give you lots of ideas of just ways you can reimagine things at the thrift store. These all turned out so cute, except for one. There was a fail, but I will show you the fail. I think I redeemed it a little bit, so I'll show you the redemption of it at the end of today's video. And I also am going to do a little giveaway, so if you stay tuned until the end of the video, you will be able to enter the giveaway if you want. It has been super rainy, super dark, Florida standards, but it has been like the perfect video to work on this week because I've been kind of trapped inside. So hopefully this can give you some ideas if you are also trapped inside a little bit more, or if you're just like coming inside a little more from the summer busyness. And I just had a ton of fun with these little DIY projects. And if you are new here, my name is Emily. I am a wife, mother to 3 little boys with a little girl on the way. So you can sure bet that I'm also doing some little crafts for this little girl, which I cannot wait to share with you guys. We're gonna do like a whole nursery makeover because we've only had boys. So now I get to spoil a little girl and make it super ultra girly, at least for me to enjoy. So let's go ahead and dive into our first DIY, a really, really special, beautiful vase. All right, so here is the vase that I found at Goodwill. It was marked at $4, but green tags were only $1. So I thought that that was great, but also it was really good because I like the shape, and I also like that this is orange, and so the inside is orange, so I won't have to like paint all in there to cover up like a purple or something crazy, and it'll kind of look like terracotta at the top, I think. So I'm going to use these napkins. I'll link them. I found them on Amazon. They were like $10 a pack, and we're going to attach these to here. All right, so I have to give Kenzie Marie Home, another creator, all the credit for figuring out how to do this. At least that's the version that I saw. But I've always seen it with blue and white napkins on there to look like that blue and white pottery, like Chinosauri. That's how you say that one. But I went ahead and used a leftover paint sample from our house. This is alabaster, the color of our walls. And I just gave it a quick paint everywhere. I had to do 2 coats for this. And I left the top rim and the bottom rim raw to kind of look like natural pottery. While that's drying, I'm going to cut out a few of these designs that I want on here. The ones that I've seen where it looks the best from this type of DIY, they cut out the individual flowers that they like and then just glue those on so that it has like a nice organic look to it and everything. And so what you have to do is split the plies so that you only get the top layer.
I'm getting the napkin.
You need a napkin? Here. You can have this napkin.
Because we need to put this on.
Okay. So I found my inspiration for this DIY and wanting to do it this time of year from Magnolia Home's website. I was looking at their website for inspiration for fall decor, but also I found this distressed floral vase and I thought it was just so pretty. So that was the inspiration behind like the color palette of choosing this napkin here. So the way that you applique these napkins onto the vase is you just use a little bit of Mod Podge, applying that in little sections, and then you just stick the piece of napkin onto there and then apply the Mod Podge on top. Super simple. The hardest part was like cutting out the little napkins, but once you get one flower cut out, then the next one next to it is pretty much already cut out. So it goes pretty quickly, and I only used 1 napkin for this entire vase. All right, this looks so good.
That looks incredible, Emily.
Thanks, Dominic. I do suggest applying the largest flowers that you have cut out from the napkin first, and then going in and filling in with the smaller ones in between. That way you'll get a nice full look, but I mean, honestly, you can do whatever you want and it'll turn out really beautiful, I think. Okay, it was looking just like a little too perfect and bright white. So I brought it outside to my garden and I'm just gonna do the good old dirt trick and distress it a little bit. Oh, you know what though? It doesn't need much because it's still a little bit tacky from the All right, that side did not actually turn out very good. Okay, we're just gonna do a tiny bit, tiny bit, like a little sprinkle. Pat, pat, pat. But I want it to have that distressed look, so that's why I'm going for it. I hope I'm not ruining it. Overall, I'm really happy with the way that this one turned out, but I think my execution was a little bit rushed and poor at the end. Totally would recommend, if you guys do this, make sure that what you do is you let the decoupage dry, the Mod Podge dry for 24 hours, and then spray paint it with the shellac or whatever you're gonna use to seal it, the poly, and then put the dirt on it. That way you have like a nice even layer. It's all like sealed. The poly dries a lot faster. The Mod Podge just takes a while to dry, and so it might just be a little too sticky and you might get kind of blotches of the dirt. If you don't do the dirt and you want more of like a polished look, then you don't even have to worry about that. Let me go ahead and remind you where this vase started and how it turned out. All right, we're gonna get out of the way, the fail. But I will share the redemption of this one at the end of today's video because I did make it better and it should prove that I guess that this like could work. So we're gonna go ahead and make some DIY fall art from an old thrift store frame. All right, so I got this frame at the Goodwill bins. These are so easy to find, black frames like this. Just because, I don't know, everyone seemed to buy black frames for a while, and now people are wanting like gold frames, I think, and like wood frames. So I have an idea. I got this at Hobby Lobby. This, it's like beaded trim. I believe it was $2. So my idea is to glue it onto here, spray paint the whole thing black, and then turn it gold, like an antique gold, and then I have some beautiful fall prints that we'll choose from. Okay, so while the frame part of this was a fail, at least in this application, this version that I made here, but finding some good fall art can be really challenging, especially free fall art, but I found a great resource for you guys. This is like what I've been hoping to find for a while, and somebody made a blog all with free open access art, like in different collections that she created. So I will leave that website down below. I have no idea who this person is, but they have a website, this little blog, and it is amazing. So go ahead and check that out if you want some free art downloads. It's so much It's so much easier. You just like print them out at your local print shop, and I always get it done on cardstock, and then I add a little bit of Mod Podge. I have some really old Mod Podge right now that is like hard, and so it makes the very best texture, and you'll see in the final product just how much texture that this adds. But if you have brand new Mod Podge, it's not going to be that much texture, so just keep that in mind. Maybe leave the jar a little bit open overnight or something to get it to thicken up or something if you want that much texture. So I'll tell you in a second why I don't like how this frame ended up, but I do like the color that I chose, which was European gold instead of antique gold, which I usually use with Rub and Buff. So yes, antique gold is more of like a coppery color, and then European gold is more of like a brassy color, I think. I think this one just bothers me mostly because those beads look like Mardi Gras beads. Like they look so cheap, and like I just painted it like a little kid's craft. So wouldn't recommend putting beads on there. So let me go ahead and show you how this one turned out. I was able to do all of these crafts just like throughout the day. While my kids were running around, you see them in and out. Something that I also really enjoy doing throughout my day is listening to podcasts. If you guys have a good podcast that you love, drop it down below. There's so many good ones out there. I listen to a whole variety of them, like faith related. Lately though, I've been listening to one that is nutrition related, and it has been so good. I am so sick of learning my nutrition from social media. I want to learn it from actual experts in the field. So I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, which is Zoe, and they're the creators of Daily 30 Plus. This is pretty cool. This is not just like a vitamin, it's actually a real food. You see in there? But this is a delicious whole food science-backed supplement to add into my daily nutrition of just like whatever I'm already eating. Scientists are beginning to understand just how important the gut health is to our immunity. And these are things that are super important to me, especially with young kids that I'm trying to help support. And I'm also just trying to feel my very best. So Daily 30 Plus has greatly helped me increase my fiber intake. Also made me just a lot more aware of the variety of nutrition that I'm bringing in. I kind of tend to focus on like a meat, a carb, and a vegetable. And I just do like the same thing over and over again. But we do need that diversity, that plant diversity in our diet to feed the microbiome in our gut. So this is just one easy step. I put it onto my yogurt. Doesn't have a sweetness to it. It's a little bit savory, but it's just like a nutty savory that really goes with anything. I sprinkle it onto salads. I sprinkle it onto my oatmeal. What else? I put it onto toast with avocados. That's delicious. Avocado toast with this onto eggs, because I love like the crunchiness of it. So if you are interested in starting Daily 30 Plus today, you can use the link down in my description. That will get you 10% off when you use the code Emily10. So I hope that you'll take advantage of this and also give their podcast a listen, because it's really informative and there's so many things that we can impact with our health through nutrition. So thank you so much, Zoe, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to these DIYs. All right, let's move on to one that did turn out really well, and I was super happy to give this technique a try. So let's do our next one, which is going to be a candle, but I've done this before using wax, like pillow pellets that you buy, and it can be a little bit expensive. So I wanted to give this a try of melting down some candles that I thrifted. This also wasn't the cheapest. These were $5, but I wanted 2 of these for a holder, and then some of them are in a little bit more rough shape. So I'm gonna try to melt these down, and then I have new wicks I'm gonna put in here, and I got this at the Goodwill bins. It says it is a soup bowl, but we're gonna turn it into a candle because I never know what to put in here. Sometimes I put pumpkin seeds in here, but I can always use it as that once I finish the candle. I was very intimidated to make candles for the first time, and I shared actually almost a year ago, last year, some DIY Christmas gifts, and some of those were using thrifted glass containers, and then I poured wax into them. So I have some of the candle making supplies that I needed. Pretty much though, these are just basic supplies. So I used my Dutch oven, and then I just had a cheap metal pot inside of that that's floating around in water, and that way it's called a double boiler. So that's why it doesn't burn or anything. Okay, well, I'm quickly learning that these are not solid orange, but are white on the inside. So we'll see. We won't get that beautiful amber color, but that's okay. Maybe it'll be a little bit orange, and we'll just mix it all together so that at least it's all like the same color. Something I learned when I was making candles last year was that it is important to actually have multiple wicks in there if you have a wider candle. Candles that you get from the store are like perfectly engineered for the right size of wick to the amount of like surface area to melt it all evenly. I ended up with a lot of tunneling because I had larger vessels and only one wick in the middle. So I did end up doing 2 here, and gosh, this was the hardest part, y'all. I was struggling to pour it in here. I don't remember how I did this last time, but it was so much more graceful than this. I ended up getting wax all over the counter. Not the biggest deal, but it was a bit of a mess. So in my opinion, this one turned out really well, but you'll see in the little reveal clips that I'm about to show you that there was actually like a good bit of waviness in the candle. And what I researched on like just a quick Google search of why there would be waviness on the top surface of it is because the jar that I put it in was really cold, and so the temperature, like it cooled at different temperatures because the outside is higher and then it goes in. So that's okay. It doesn't really bother me because I'm gonna light it and it'll melt and get wavy on the top anyway. But if you did want to avoid this, you could always reserve a little bit of your wax and then pour wax on top after the first main pour has dried. That way you're filling in all of those gaps. So this is how this DIY fall candle turned out. All right, this one is probably my favorite. This one actually has a very specific place of where it's going to go, which will be, I'll share next week. I want to do a little thrifted and DIY kitchen for fall, like give you guys some ideas of how to decorate the kitchen. And so make sure you come back for that. Make sure you're subscribed. But I had a very specific idea of where I want to put this next piece that I'm going to make. So keep that in mind, but I think that you could use this in so many different ways around your house. Let me go ahead and show you how I made this wooden art piece. All right, here's the supplies for our next project. So what I want to create is a little hanging plaque for art like this. So I'm gonna Mod Podge onto here this little piece of art. I have a pair, 2 pairs. I found this painting on some free access website, and I will link it down below because I find so much good art for free. I don't even have to buy like downloadables from Etsy. So my plan is to Mod Podge it onto here. I need to cut off a little bit more of this white trim, and then I'm gonna create a little hanging system. I just realized though, I can actually make it double-sided. So I think I'm gonna do that as well if I can find another picture. Thankfully, I have quite the collection of art that I have found online and then had printed. I use UPS and I always print it on cardstock. And so I had a little strawberry painting that I thought would be just perfect because I want this eventually to end up in my kitchen so I can flip it around and have the pears for more of like a winter and fall look, and then the strawberries can be for more of a spring and summer look. Why I decided to use this hanging mechanism for this piece instead of just a hook on the back or something will make so much sense next week when you see the spot that I create in my kitchen for this. But I went ahead and painted with some rub and buff the little eye hook things that I needed, and then just drilled 2 holes in the wood to attach these. And I had just a broken thrifted, I think it was thrifted at one point, necklace, and so I used that for my chain there, and that worked really well. I had some jewelry making supplies on hand, so I was able to add the little like clasp things to attach that together. But other than that, I just went in and added that Mod Podge. I go in with a little like crisscross technique, and that gives it the most realistic oil painting look. All right, I'm gonna show you how it turned out. I think it looks so like substantial and like it looks expensive because it's so thick, the wood and everything, and I love that I can flip it around seasonally. So I just think this one is a win-win. I've never really seen something quite like this. So if you guys liked it, please give this video a like. That so helps support the channel. Comment down below which of these DIYs was your favorite. Which one are you going to give a try? And I had to grab it from over there. I am going to send one of you all a little package. And so if you want to enter the giveaway, you will receive this, which is one of the frames that I put that rub and buff on with the pear painting. You could put that in your kitchen. I'm gonna send you a few of these orange and white napkins that you can turn one of your vases or anything. You could even do it on like a pumpkin. That would be so cute to make it look just really customized and everything. So I'm gonna send you some of those, and then I'll send you this little candle that I made. This one, I did try pouring some wax on top, but I had forgotten that I had added other wax chips from a different candle that I was melting down that was white, but it's perfect because it looks like a little cappuccino, right? With the foam on top. I just think that's so cute. So you will receive these 3 items. All you have to do is comment down below a recipe that you are going to make this fall or that you are excited to make. I'm excited to make soups and bread. That's what I'm just excited because they're easy to make ahead of time and like have just simmering away all day. And it'll just be super yummy. So let me know down below which recipe you are going to make this fall, which one you're excited for, and I'll let you know probably in 2 weeks who was the winner for that one, and so I can get it shipped off and sent to you. So thank you all so much for watching, for being here. Your support means the world. And let me go ahead and show you how this last DIY turned out.